So there he is, Kai Havertz in Chelsea shirt. That's quite exciting, isn't it?
I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
Even as a non-Chelsea fan, I'm excited for that.
Yeah. I mean that's bigger than Messi, isn't it?
Yeah, let's not get too excited, but.
So I mean, let's start.
Yeah.
Right there. I mean, Havertz in FPL. Do you have any thoughts on it?
All right, well then go for it, Rich. You're a Chelsea fan. Tell me what we do. Who do we sign?
Well, I did post actually a thread on it the other day after the Brighton game with some tactical notes from the game and how we set up and all. Based on that game, it looks like we're playing a 4-2-3-1 / 4-3-3 version of from last year and yesteryears, basically. And Werner obviously is the place number 9, and it looked like Loftus-Cheek, who played in the 10 role, was very advanced both in his pressing and got in the box a lot. So based on that, I think Kai would play that position. Again, I have to be honest, like I said before, I haven't actually seen Kai play that much. So it's hard to, based on like a few YouTube videos and on his finishing and etc. etc. So, for me, the number 1 player to sign once he's fit is Pulisic, actually.
Yeah. And there's a lot of talk about this. Oh no, that's what's the other player you signed?
Ziyech, or yeah.
Yeah, that back post ball that he plays across that was very successful.
Yeah. And again, a shout out to the FML FPL guys, because they brought up some numbers in one of the recent pod from the Ajax 2 seasons past.
Successful.
Yeah, so 2 years ago Tadic played on the left wing when Ziyech was on the right wing, and he put down some crazy numbers like 30-40 goal involvements for the season. And last year they had the what's it called, Promise, the Quincy Promise, I think, played on the left wing, and he didn't reach the heights of Tadic obviously, but he put up some great numbers as well. So it looks like he can be the creator of the left side, the left winger, if you know what I mean. And I think that Pulisic could really benefit from it. And,
so are we talking Pulisic and Werner as being the main FPL assets as we talk right now?
I think so, yes. Before we see how Kai will settle in, and I mean Ziyech will most likely be the provider, and Werner and Pulisic will be the goal scorers. And it will be very interesting to see how Kai fits into all this as well. And then don't forget we have Mason Mount and Loftus-Cheek, and there's a lot of talent, and obviously Hudson-Odoi as well, who actually was on the back end of the ball from Ziyech last time. And and then he got in the position that Pulisic would, obviously come in if he plays on the left. And the assist from Hudson-Odoi was basically a mistaken header from him to Werner to put in the easy first goal for Chelsea on his debut. So that was quite nice to see. So happy about that, yeah. So we're really excited as a Chelsea fan for the season coming up, actually. So I mean, we're close to contending to the against the City and Liverpool, I think. Maybe that's just Chelsea hybris and biased, but we're not far behind now, I think.
What's the deal with you signing a new keeper?
Well, who knows? That should be our number one priority, but again, from what I'm hearing and what I'm reading about the likes of Havertz, he's a generational talent, and I mean you just couldn't pass up on an opportunity like this. Yeah, there you go. So I understand why they signed him, and let's hope for another keeper. There's a lot of talk about the Rennes keeper. I think is it Mendy. Again, I don't know much about him, but He looks to be the front runner for a possible move. But until then, we have Kepa, and we shall see how he fares. maybe better. Sorry.
Is he as bad as everyone makes him out to be?
I don't like to bash on my own players, but unfortunately, I think I have to say yes. Again, yeah, I mean, it has the lowest save percentage in the whole league, I think, and it's really low, like 50% or something. No. Again, with a better defense, Chilwell coming in. Obviously, Thiago Silva is the big one there. So who knows? Maybe that can help help Kepa as well with his confidence and all. I mean, that's quite important as a keeper, obviously. So yeah. So enough Chelsea talk, I think, for today.
Enough Chelsea talk. Yeah. That's 10 minutes of Chelsea talk.
Yeah, love it. We didn't intend
to. Are we doing 10
to,
minutes of Sheffield Wednesday talk now?
Sorry?
We're doing 10 minutes of Sheffield Wednesday talk now.
Yeah, that's so your time to shine.
Well, let's get in the Premier League first.
Yeah.
Right, should we talk our teams?
Yeah, let's do it. So, I mean, it's a week from where we were last time, and you have done some moves. I have done a few moves, and then we get to our joint team. Is our plan, and we have a bit of a strategy talk between playing aggressively and playing a bit more patient, which at least I've struggled with over the years. So I'd like to hear your thoughts and everyone else's who's possibly in the chats eventually, or also afterwards on Twitter, etc. So if you want to have let's go through your team first, Alex.
So I think the bulk of the team is quite similar to what it was when we talked last week. I guess the big difference for me, probably, the tweaking that I've been sort of going backwards and forwards with over the week is my front line and my Manchester United asset. Now I know we're going to talk Manchester United assets later on, so we'll come back to that when we discuss that as a topic. But so for me, it's been around which forwards to get in. Now I've had Martial in most of my drafts, but in this one I've actually gone with Rashford. I think he's kind of sneaking under the radar a little bit, but like I said, I'm not worried about getting sidetracked on him. So that's allowed me to get probably the front line I'm most sort of thinking about at the minute, which is the two cheap 6.0 Mitrovic and Adams, who I like both of them. I've got to have a Fulham player in for sentimental reasons. So Mitra, I've actually got two. I've got Reed as well as the 4.5 midfielder who will start and get me sort of 2 points if I'm lucky. Yeah. But then obviously your man Werner as well, who I think is a great option there. And then I've gone Salah, Aubameyang in the middle. Souček game week 1. Rashford will obviously come in game week 2. And then at the back, it'll be a case of Alexander-Arnold and Doherty will start every week. And then the final 2 spots will sort of rotate between Vinagre, Dallas at the minute. But I'll talk about my 4.5s in a minute. But Vinagre, Dallas, Souček and Taylor. Now the 4.5s I've gone for. So Souček I would like to be first bench most weeks because I think he will. I think they've got tough fixtures. I think he will tick over, but I don't think there's anything wrong with just starting him. Although I should put a caveat in that he's got COVID, or he's possibly got COVID, or he's being close to someone that's had COVID. So we've just got to watch that space to make sure he is actually not going to be in isolation. I think the last rumour I heard is he should start, but we do need to watch that. So I'm assuming all's good there. So then I've just gone for 4.5s I actually like. So they don't rotate amazingly well. Vinagre and Taylor rotate okay. Dallas's fixtures are awful, but I think Leeds are underpriced. Like I've seen their statistics, and I think they could match Sheffield United. And Dallas and Ayling are very attacking fullbacks. I know it's difficult to translate into Premier League from Championship, but I just got a feeling that even despite the fixture, I kind of just want them sat on my bench, and to have that option as they come, rather than worrying about having to transfer one in later on. So that's kind of where I'm at with those. And the other sort of squad that I'm looking at would basically be downsizing. Adams would be up to Martial, and then I would have sort of Ali in midfield, and I'd probably have a slightly better defence as well, just because it's a slightly cheaper way of using my funds. So Ali would be in, who I also quite like. Martial will be up front, and then either Mitrovic or Adams will be out of the team. And that's probably my big decision at the minute. I think the rest of it I'm quite settled on, which is unlike me with a week to go. I'm usually frantically tinkering around. I think Doherty I'm still going to sort of give the benefit of the doubt to. See how he goes in Spurs and see if he can sort of replicate some of the attacking aspects that we've seen from Serge Aurier. But and I think their fixtures make it worthwhile. That's kind of what I'm thinking there. What do you reckon? Rip it apart, Rich. Give me some thoughts.
First thought, I'd have to say that your let's say outfield 13 looks should start. Everyone here should start. Have you based any thought on this? I mean, you mentioned COVID obviously and possible isolations, and is there a reasoning behind it, or?
Well, I do. I think with COVID, I do want to have a slightly stronger bench just in case games are called off. I'm not talking about leaving a 6 million mid on the bench. But I just mean having Reed, who, assuming the game goes ahead, that's a 2-pointer if he comes in, and my other two, Souček or whichever of the 4.5s are on the bench will more than likely play as well. And Vinagre, obviously, we've got to monitor to see if anyone comes in for Wolves. I think Mitchell has been in a few drafts as well when I've needed to save a bit of money, but I have seen something today that I think PVA is actually back training. So if that's the case, Mitchell might have quite a short life expectancy and could be out, being replaced by PVA. So I know as well that there are some Leeds 4.0s. I'm not sort of up enough with the Leeds play to know whether they will start. I don't know if we do yet. So we may get some news. During the pre-seasons. And that could be great because I think one of them could potentially play on the wing with Ayling moving to centre back. I think that's right. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
I think that's what I've heard as well. I mean, at the moment, it doesn't look like we will have any 4.0 defenders to rely on, basically. So I will come on to my team in a minute as well, and I don't have a 4.0 either. Any reason on Dallas over Ayling? I've heard about Ayling being talked up lately, and you've gone to Dallas.
I think again. It kind of depends. Where Ayling could be good, but he could also cover at centre back, which reduces his appeal. Dallas could also be more defensive, but could play in the midfield. So I'm kind of just going with the fact that I think he's going to be the further forward. But again, I'm sort of just going off articles I've read rather than actually knowing anything factually. So.
Yeah, luckily there's a community out there to help us out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, nothing in particular to really. Seems like a good strategy, and I think you have it cover most important bases as well, like Liverpool, and you have a plan to bring in, I guess, City players for Aubameyang as well. Yeah, that's right. And then I've got Rashford, who I'll cover. I tell you what, the one thing I did like is I was talking to Maldonado, worth following on Twitter. Matt, about this, and he made a really good point. The previous draft I had, where I had Martial up front, Ali in midfield, and a slightly stronger defence, allowed the Ali spot is a really, really nice spot to have to be able to get to one of your boys, one of the Chelsea boys, or one of the, Greenwood or a Foden. So that's kind of drawing me back to the having Martial as the attacker and having the spot that I've currently got Rashford as that spot where Ali's in. If he does well, great. If he doesn't, there's a number of options around that price bracket they can move to. But then I'm really stuck on Mitrovic versus Adams. I kind of want both of them. I sort of like both of them for different reasons. So, and I also think Nketiah, but I've just seen that I think he scored a hat-trick
for England under 21s this morning, and it's kind of like I think Nketiah for the first 2 games could be a really nice option at 6 million to go alongside Aubameyang. So yeah, those are my dilemmas at the minute.
Yeah, lots of options, which is always good.
Not good for me when you're indecisive.
No, well, I think I share your indecisiveness, and I think I share a few of your price points. And oh, there's Kai again.
Stop showing him.
Yeah. So here's my team at the moment. Did you have any other comments on your own?
No. Let's go on to you.
Yeah. So I made the final tweak I did today is based on my hopes that Brewster obviously goes on loan, and for this spot right here, the 4.5 million forward. I mean, I sort of hope he doesn't go on loan because everyone will have him, and it.
Yeah.
So again, like today we had the confirmation that Messi is staying in Barca, so we don't have to think about him. But he would also have been an auto pick, maybe for captaincy as well. So that would have been boring, basically. More decisions, more options makes it more fun, I think. Which is also the reason why I've gone Salah-less.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting bold call, isn't it?
Yeah. So I mean, at the moment I have the triple Liverpool defense, and that's the last thing I changed. I had the same front line as you, Adams, Mitrovic, and Werner. Obviously, Van Dijk and Mitro is priced similarly, so I had used the 1.5 million from the Mitro to Davis, or Brewster, to upgrade Dyer to Van Dijk. This won't be my strategy if we don't have a 4.5 playing striker, I think. So that'll be the key.
So you'd change it if you did. Now I'm just looking at Chelsea's Liverpool's opening fixture. So they've got Leeds at home, Chelsea away, Arsenal home, Aston Villa away, Everton away, Sheffield United home, West Ham home. So that's their first. Then Man City away. That's their first 8 fixtures.
Yeah.
Well, I could conceivably see Leeds scoring. I definitely think Chelsea will score. Yeah. Arsenal always tight. They could block that one. Aston Villa away. I think they will probably get a clean sheet there.
Yeah.
Everton away. You would think so at the minute, but after 5 games with the 3 signings they've got, that is potentially actually could be quite a tricky game now. Sheffield United at home, West Ham home. I think those are a good chance of a clean sheet. Yeah. Then Man City, you never know what's going to happen there. I guess what I'm saying is going triple could be absolutely. You only need, say, from that 8, if you got 3 clean sheets, 4 clean sheets, and maybe a couple of attacking returns, plus you're going to get some bonus thrown into that. Are you happy at that statistic? Like if you assume that the others are they concede in?
Yeah, and that's the thing. The real good fixture run for Liverpool is really from game week 6, like you say, and up until like game week 19. They play Man United at home again. Then they have a City away in that run, but other than that, it looks pretty decent. So this is which is why I just changed to the triple backline. But it would make a good talking topic, I thought. But actually, I started my first draft with the triple defense as well before the fixtures were released and all. Because I see great value, obviously. And I think I can see myself captaining Alexander-Arnold this year as well over Salah. And I haven't really looked into the captaincy rotation if Aubameyang and City boys and Chelsea boys will rotate nicely on the captaincy. But again, most likely I will move back to the Mitrovic and drop Van Dijk again. My thinking as well is I want to limit the number of defensive transfers this year to be able to rotate my attacking players to get them more upside.
Yeah.
So I want to make a steady defense that could take along points, and then go for the high upside attacking players. And,
So who are you thinking of? Who are you thinking of changing from your? Who are you thinking of changing from your attackers? So obviously Bruno's going to come in. I assume he'll rotate captaincy, and then Aubameyang will go to a City player. So then you'll just rotate between sort of Aubameyang, Fernandes. Aubameyang, then Fernandes, then back to a City player.
Yeah.
Maybe Werner.
Yeah, and like you mentioned on the Ali spot, that's exactly the reason why I have Son in here. Again, he's what price is Ali this year? 8.5, 8?
8.
8, yeah. So Son is another million more expensive, so he can cover any of the Chelsea midfielders. Well, not cover, but you can get down to one easily. Like Pulisic 8.5, CJ 8, and you mentioned as well Foden if he goes off, and even Mahrez at 8.5 could be an option.
Yeah.
As well as Greenwood, obviously, at 7.5. So that's my thinking at that Aubameyang and Son will most likely leave my team by game week 3. Obviously Spurs have a great run as well. You can have a look here. So if he looks to be the focal point at attack, even with the Kane in there, I mean I always struggle with Son. I never seem to get him right. He has this number of explosive games every year, and I never seem to get him in at the right time, and I always tell at the wrong time.
One of those places you have to sit with, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. They are quite unpredictable, his hauls. So yeah, but most likely he will become most likely a Chelsea midfielder, I think. Again, the potential of our attack this year is quite extraordinary, I think. Pictures look good for Chelsea, and obviously, there are a lot of new faces in the attack, and even Pulisic was maybe injured for more like half of the season last season as well. So I think it will take a few games to really pick up the form, and then it could be quite lethal. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. That's kind of what's drawing me back to Ali. So why have you gone Adams as your 6.0? Why have you gone Adams over as your 6.0?
Yeah, you mentioned the choice there between Mitrovic and Adams, and again I'll just have a look at the Southampton fixtures. I think they look really good, and they have very strong attacking numbers after the restart as well. So it's basically choosing on the pedigree of. I mean, obviously Fulham were in the Premier League 2 seasons ago. Mitrovic did good, but again a promoted side against an established Premier League team. I think I could start with Adams easily, and then if it doesn't work out, hopefully I can move to Mitrovic if I need to.
Yeah.
So it's there in the back of my mind, and again, I'm most likely again to move back from Van Dijk and Davis to Mitrovic. So I really like your front 3, and I think I'm most likely moving the same way as well.
Yeah. Because I'm funny. I'm just thinking about the you're having Son in that holding spot, and it really does appeal to me, that idea. It's kind of drifted me back to maybe going as Martial as my, Martial, Werner, and then one of the 2. Yeah. I think that's my big decision whether I go. I just like that, having that midfield spot, because if I go Rashford in the middle there, it's less about Rashford being a good option, because I think he is a good. Good. I agree. It's more just that I'm not going to want to move him out because he's my Man United cover. Yeah. Whereas if I have that Ali spot in there, it's quite easy to get to. So it would be let's say I sold Mitrovic, got Martial in that spot, and then instead of having Rashford, it would be Ali in the middle. Yeah, that'll be my final decision.
Yeah. What you thinking about Salah then moving ahead? You think he'll stay in your team for long, or?
Yeah, so I think for me he's a I'm going to have him for the first. We'll just try and get. Sorry, I've minimised their fixtures. Hang on.
Yeah.
So I'm just looking at those fixtures again. So my plan is to have him certainly Leeds. I think Liverpool will score against you next week. Like I don't see you keeping a clean sheet.
No.
So I'm definitely happy to have you have Salah for the first two, and then the runs, like I said, is not a particularly easy run. I think there's some good defensive teams in there. Arsenal, I think even Villa now are not the same animal they were at the start of last season. Everton as well, even Sheffield United. I think those could be quite tricky games to score in. But I'm just going to sort of play it by ear with Salah. At the price he is, you can move to anyone. So the plan would be whichever team I've got, I stick with for 2 weeks, and then game week 3 it allows me to make 2 transfers, maybe a mini wild card. So take a -4, move the funds around a little bit, because obviously, assuming I do Aubameyang to De Bruyne or Sterling, that's 0.5, which allows for a bit of flexibility somewhere else if needed. So yeah, that's kind of my rough plan at the minute. I'm not 100% certain, but it just sort of, I think it stems from that Man United player. So shall we move on to the joint team so we can?
So this is our train wreck. We made the last week.
Changes.
Yeah, I think we need to. So we have Keita and Thomas in there, for example.
Yeah, they need to go, don't they? Both of them.
Yeah, and Leicester obviously signed the. I'm not sure if he's a left or right back. Castagne.
I think he can play both sides, so I think it makes Justin a bit trickier when Pereira comes back.
Yeah. So Thomas is definitely a no-go, and Justin could be there for a few weeks. But again, coming back to my strategy of minimizing the defensive transfers. To chase the upside of the attackers. That's not a route to go down, then I think.
Yeah.
So
I think if we take Keita out, I mean, I'd be happy to stick. You could go for either of the 5.5s in there, the Stu Adams or actually, I saw a good. I can't talk about it, but Saint Maximin rotates really well with Souček. We've got Souček in there. Could just stick him in.
Yeah, he's a fun player, isn't he?
Well, he is. Yeah.
I know they plan to talk about them, and they haven't really been mentioned at all. But Everton.
Yeah.
They have made a few signings, like Alan and James Rodriguez. Yeah. What do you think their impact will be?
Well, put it like this. If I went with the Ali move, one of the other options is to go with DCL up front.
Yeah.
And I actually really like that. I think he's got a real. I think he could be with that creativity, and they've got great fixtures. I think that's kind of what slipped under the radar.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of DCL would be a really nice one to have, sort of, as an option going forward.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think he's the one who will benefit from them coming in rather than James or Alan being an option.
Yeah,
no,
I agree with that.
The fact that Calvert-Lewin will be the benefit, more or less. So him at 7 million can be really, really interesting. Should we?
Panda FPL. Do we think? How do you pronounce his name? Castani starts ahead of Justin at right back until Pereira is fit.
That would be
my gut feel is he's been brought in to start, and I'm sure Pereira starts. So therefore, maybe not at the beginning, but I think it kind of works quite well for Leicester, because they get while Pereira's getting fit, they can start both Justin and Kazagani. I'm probably him. Yeah. And then I think when Pereira comes back in, it may be Justin that drops out and is the reserve player. But look, that's pure guesswork. Could be completely wrong.
look at Sam Martin on Twitter. He's a great guy in the Twitter community, and obviously has good in the know on Leicester as well. Very good insight, and often has correct info. So he shouted the Ben Chilwell transfer, for example, quite early.
Yeah, and then you guys come in at 5.5, so I don't think he's an option at the minute.
No.
I like what you've done there. I think we need to find a bit of cash. So I mean, I'd be happy to drop Ryan down to a 4.0.
Yeah.
Because even if we could get up to a
Ryan or McCarthy? Do you have
I think I'd keep McCarthy personally. I think.
Let's go with the other Brighton keeper then. Or go with Nyland or Steer.
Yeah, go Steer because I think Nyland worries me a bit because if his price could drop off because I think people now they've signed that other keeper. Have they signed Mario from Man United now, or has that not gone through? I don't know, but I think his price could drop off.
Yeah.
So then we still got to find a bit more cash.
Yeah. We obviously have Fernandes, Aubameyang, and Salah in here.
Yeah. So we could go for Rashford.
Yeah, I think how much would that leave us? We'll still be 1 million short, about 4.5.
Still going to be a bit short. Yeah.
See what we can come up with. So yeah, 3.5.
Yeah, so we could just do Dyer to a 4.5. Although I do like Dyer, I'd like to have him in.
Yeah. But then again, now we have 8 playing attackers, so we really need 4.5 actually.
Well, let's take Sam Maximum down to a 4.5.
Yeah, I like the Reed shout, and I didn't speak about my 4.5 spot, but I have a Bissouma at the moment. It's between him and... sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I don't think that's a bad shout. I think he's got a bigger upside than...
Yeah, it's minutes for him really, but there's also Moy and quite possibly could make a few appearances, and if he does, looks promising.
Yeah, and that gives us 4.5.
Yeah, so really we have another 4.5 spot here. We did the Villa and Wolves rotation.
Yes, we could stick Taylor in.
Yeah.
I think they've got quite a nice 3-way rotation.
Yeah, so then we would have Rashford, Taylor, and Target on the bench. That's correct.
That's all right. It's only 1 week. Rest of it looks okay.
Yeah.
Reed's not great, but look, I mean, if we get 2 points, we get 2 points.
Yeah, it's a 1 game week. We played long run this.
Yeah.
So Taylor. All right, let's see how this looks. Coming to transfers. Calvert-Lewin. Yeah,
that's all right.
Caterless team and Thomas-less teams looks alright.
I like that front line.
Yeah.
I like that front line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Everton is a fun team. It could be some potential there.
Yeah. No, I like that. I think that looks good.
Yeah.
Right, should we have a look at our the question we're gonna...
We did have we were talking about obviously United attackers earlier, and this is from FPL Enigma, Rich Maple Lions on Twitter, and he made a very visual, very easy for guys like me and Alex to understand. Very simple.
Simple.
So here's like an overview of United attackers after the restart, wasn't it? Or was it over the whole season?
I'm just looking at... Yeah, I'm not sure actually.
No, maybe that's the entire season then. Just before we go move on to the United assets, we got a question from Pete. Who do you guys like in the 8 to 9.5 midfield price range? You want to take this one, Alex?
Yeah, I think we've kind of touched on them. I think to start with, I'm quite liking the look of Ali just as a placeholder, just for my own team. I just think because he fits in there quite nicely. With the idea of potentially moving to Greenwood or although Greenwood's slightly lower than the price bracket you're looking at, or one of the cheap ones. If you're wanting to move up, I think you've kind of got to look at Rashford in that bracket as well. I'm just trying to get your. Where are we at to? I'm on the wrong screen.
Yeah, we did discuss one of the Spurs midfielders for that spot. Like you said, as a placeholder, I mean, it kind of is a perfect fit with the fixtures and either Ali or Son, who I have, to be the placeholder over the first 2 games where Spurs have a really good couple of fixtures. And then we have a number of choices with Ziyech and well, who knows which price Havertz will come in, and then we have Pulisic obviously, and even Mahrez and Foden if you want to go cheaper. So there are lots of.
Okay, so I'm gonna nail you down then. Now, if you had to pick one in that price bracket, which would you go for? Everyone being fit, everyone being well.
That'd be Pulisic for me, actually.
Yeah, same. Yeah, times 2.
Yeah.
I think I would go Rashford first if I didn't have another Man United mid. I would want some sort of Man U attacking cover in there.
Yeah.
But if I had someone else, I think Pulisic, a fit Pulisic would be in for me as well.
I mean, the value of the Chelsea attack this year could be immense.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
Yeah. So back to the United attackers. So these are the 4. If you would try and range them from 1 to 4th, which one would you put at top? With taking into account the value and projected points and everything.
So I think for me, I'm if prices were exactly the same, I would go Bruno. But I think the extra that you pay for Bruno puts him out of my price bracket. I think that's the big thing for me. I think I won't want to pay $1 million or $1.5 million more than the other 2 big assets. So then it falls down for me between Rashford and Martial, and then it depends on who else you want to play. So I kind of have those 2 on a par, and like I said, for me it's just figuring around which other striker or midfielder I want. So because I quite like having the spot we were talking about with the idea of, as Pete's just put in, I prefer Pulisic also. I think I'm the same. I quite like having a spot. So putting Ali in there for me, even though I would need to find 0.5 somewhere else, allows me to go Martial as one of my forwards, and then also allows me to potentially have a Pulisic or to double with Greenwood later on. Interesting, I saw on Greenwood today, Greenwood's been reallocated a number 11 for this season coming. And I mean, I know it's only a small thing, but that says to me that they're eyeing him up as a real big thing, because that's quite a number 11 at Manchester United. That's quite a big deal. So I would say that he could really become an option, but I want to see what happens. Make sure they don't sign anyone else that can compete with him, and then I think Greenwood's a great second option. I don't like him as my only Man United player, but I definitely don't mind him as a second. So I think for me, it's Rashford and Martial as the sort of joint number 1, depending on your team structure and which other players you want in there, and then Bruno and Greenwood second. Greenwood is a great backup option or a second option, and Bruno just that price puts me off. It's not that I don't think he's great. It's not that I don't think he's going to score really well, because I think he will. But I just don't. I'm not prepared to pay that extra $1 million or $1.5 million.
Do you have any idea on the new signing from the Beek, how he will fit in? Because I really don't.
Yeah, I think Van der Beek will be more of like, I don't think he would be an FPL asset. I think he will sit back. I think I've seen a couple of people say that he could make Bruno a better option because it will allow Bruno to push on further. So that sort of allows him to maybe have a freer role, which means he could be even better. And I could be eating my words and going, Bruno is well worth that extra money. Come a few weeks, down the track, and I'm sort of breaking my team up to try and get him in.
Yeah. Well, it's a funny thing, this because we are kind of disagreeing on this, because I'd put Bruno and Greenwood at the top on my priorities. So I obviously have Bruno in my team because I think he is worth the extra million over Rashford. I'm being on looks like every set piece, and he had a few assists from free kicks and corners last year. And obviously Maguire didn't score a lot from the corners, but he's always a dangerous target in there, and he's always involved, always with the ball. So and the penalties, maybe it's an anomaly or it's will next year as well. They'll get like 10-15 penalties. I think that's a possibility. So for me, he's the top priority, and then we have Greenwood again, unless they sign anyone. But Sancho seems to be off the table. So just based on the value that he provides, he is at a tricky price point though, with 7.5 with the other options that we've mentioned. So it will be hard to fit two attackers from Man United, one from City, one from Liverpool, two from Chelsea. It's all about the priorities.
Well, I think that's the big difference. Like you said, it's getting, if you're going Salah, then it makes everything else that bit more difficult. You look at your team and go, right, well, if you just write off not having Salah straight away, it makes getting Bruno plus any of the mids you really want that much easier. And I guess that's the other argument, is that if I go, for example, Martial, and then I decide that I don't want Salah in a few weeks, then Salah to Bruno frees up a nice chunk of cash, and also means I can then potentially upgrade one of my defenders to, say, Robertson as well. So there is that flexibility that I do think I'll want to double up on Man United, assuming they sort of play as they did previously, and so it could be that Salah is the fall guy, as it were. But I'm going to sort of worry about that one down the track a bit. I think at the minute I do quite like the just having Salah to start with, but then it makes Bruno or someone else or really weakens your team. As soon as you go Aubameyang, Salah, Bruno, everything else becomes that bit weaker around the edges, which might not be a bad thing, but
well, you need at least like 9 or 10 of your players to score points, just a 5 or 6. So it's always finding the right balance.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So and that was also my target in dropping Salah from the team, and at least going the double defense to maybe allows me to have like double United attack, double Chelsea attack, at least one City attacker. And then a few of these talisman figures in the lower to the table teams as well.
Yeah.
So it'll be an interesting one, this one, and there is another week until the deadline, so a lot can change in our minds, I guess.
What was your final point you were looking at?
Yeah.
Britt, to talk about?
Well, this wasn't one, but again, we signed Havertz today, so. It's a strategy thing that I've struggled with over the years, and let me see if I had my tweet to kind of visualize this, and this is the picture that's been haunting me for nearly 2 years now. Kane one-pointer at home to Brighton on Wembley Stadium. No, it was at home to Cardiff, actually. Yeah, not that matters. it basically comes down to when you want to play aggressively and chase the fixtures, and maybe even take a 4-point hit to get a good captaincy in, or do you want to play patiently and stay with the team you have at the moment, and finding the right balance between these two ways of approaching each game week, and as long as think about the long run as well. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on how do you usually attack nice fixture like Aubameyang against Norwich at home after lockdown. Seemed like a perfect like 1 game week punt who did pay off for people, but at the same time often these kind of 1 week punts doesn't pay off. And for me, it feels like when I'm going for it, it doesn't pay off. And the ones I'm thinking about that I don't actually pull off, they always go on holes.
Yeah, I think it. Like I had Aubameyang for that Norwich game, and I captained him, so it was great. Yeah. But then I'd held him for quite a while for that game, and he didn't really do a huge amount in the build up to it. So for me, it was great to get those captain points. It was awesome. But I'd held him at sacrificing other other players coming in because he was quite expensive in the build up to that. So I think that's something we have to think about. Yeah. I know some people see those. If you get yourself in a position where you can make that 1 week and there's nothing else going on in your team, I think it's okay to do that. But I think it's okay. Look, it's very difficult to say because someone that brought Aubameyang in for a -4 in a week where no one else captains, I think from memory really did much. I think was Jimenez the other option if you didn't have Aubameyang, and did he get just a 2-pointer maybe or something similar to that?
Yeah, I think that was I captained Jimenez. It must have been that game week, and he even got 2 points. So, thanks for reminding me.
Yeah. You're welcome. Yeah. So then you kind of go, it becomes worth it. But then I did the same with Kane and brought him in as well for a hit, and did absolutely nothing. So I think you kind of have to. For me, it's about that. You roll with what suits you. Are you the type of manager that would rather be slow and steady, plan as you go, and just acknowledge that you're going to miss the odd Aubameyang haul or whoever it is that you bring in? And I would say that what you've got to try and do is get into the habit of work out how you're going to best play the game. Which feels better for you. For me, I'm more of a. I do quite like taking risks, but the same thing I'm starting to realise is that for my own mental health, I need to sort of just calm down a little bit and be quite happy to follow the herd on this. So if people are going, it's not worth the risk of bringing someone in, then maybe I do need to reevaluate whether I do that sort of thing. But for example, I wouldn't have brought Aubameyang in for Norwich if I didn't already have him in my team. Yeah. So he'd been in my team for the whole period in the post lockdown, all the way through, primarily with the idea to sell him after Norwich. So that was fine. That was what it was. But I wouldn't have brought him in for a 1 week punt if it wasn't for that. So I think that's probably, and I would probably, like I said, I did Kane as well. We all sat there thinking it was the best move, and
and there's obviously Pete in the chat rubbing salt in the wounds, because that would have been my move if I didn't get Kane in, and he got a 14-pointer away at Southampton. So that move cost about 20 points. So thanks for that, Pete.
Trip on memory lane for you, Rich.
I obviously
had his midfield. That's interesting. I'm just looking at Pete. He's got his midfield of Salah, Uber, Ali and Armstrong, which I think is a nice one. And then it kind of comes back to that, what we were discussing earlier, of where you want to go with your Man United midfielder, or player rather. So depending on which way you want to go, I think that would depend on which player. Like, I think Ali is a really nice placeholder if you can get to one of the Man United guys, or you definitely get to the Chelsea guys, because they'll be about the same price. What are you thinking, Rich, with regards if say come halfway through the season, you've got the opportunity to make a -4 to do a similar Kane move? Are you going to do it again, or are you going to hold fire?
I think you make a very good point about finding out, I mean, beforehand what you want, how you would approach these situations, because they will always come up. And here's where planning ahead obviously comes into play. So if you have planned ahead, I usually make like an Excel sheet and plan out the next like 10 game weeks for the best possible captain in each game week, looking at obviously the attacking team, but maybe more who they are playing, like who are the weakest teams playing, and then make a captaincy decision out of those I mean the defensive and attacking stats. And if you can stick to your plan, obviously that will help, and you won't get caught up in this the word or the FOMO, the fear of missing out. And that's another big thing about the Twitter sphere, that you feel like everyone is on that player. That kind of gets to you, and it really gets to me. I know that for a fact. So trying to, I'm not gonna, delete Twitter or anything, because I love being on the FPL community, and there are a lot of great people on there, and a lot of great opinions and threads and everything, and other social medias as well. So I really enjoy my time there, but try not to get too influenced by it. I know you yourself did actually had a Twitter hiatus at the end of last season.
Yeah, I sold Salah, and it just before he scored, I maybe got a goal and assist and something else. And it's 2 seasons in a row I've sold Salah, and just before he scored the hat trick at Bournemouth, and then I can't remember who was playing this season, but it wasn't so much that, it was just I needed to not be reminded of it every 5 minutes, and that could be a good or a bad thing. But I have, like a lot of people, you when Twitter's on your phone, you just jump in and have a quick read of it, and we're in so many sort of groups and Slack and WhatsApp and everything going on, that I just needed to get away from it. It was actually a great thing for me. It really sort of reevaluated how much I want to do it, and I think the big thing for me I've realised is I quite often have Twitter there on my phone, but I just turn off notifications and I kind of forget about it then. And I think that makes it far, because when I want to go to Twitter, I'm going there because I'm sort of choosing to go there. So I'll go there, look for 10 minutes, and then quit, and I've forgotten about it again. So probably not as active as I used to be on it, but it makes it a lot more manageable for me, and sort of I have certain people that I enjoy following and listening to, so it's a bit more of a, when I jump on, I see the notifications, like the tweet notifications from the people that I've set it up for, jump into notifications, have a look at what they've said, that'll generally lead you off to read a few interesting stats, or they've retweeted a thread or something that's interesting, and then I'm out again, and I find that a far better way to sort of handle it. I think the one thing I've done a lot less of, he says, showing his team on a YouTube channel, but I think the one thing I've done a lot less of is actually going and posting my team on Twitter and on Slack for scrutiny, because I think that would often confuse me and get me thinking a lot more than I actually need to. So I would really overthink things quite a lot. So I think it's just finding that balance. I definitely don't think I've got it yet, but I think it's definitely getting better. Just chatting to people that you sort of enjoy just bouncing ideas around with, and then leaving it at that.
Yeah, I think we're getting aware of what it can do to you and your influence on the team as well. So at least the awareness start to get to you, and you can start to filter out the noise, and I think it gets easier. And again, we say that at the beginning of this season, and we will get influenced and do crazy stuff again. I mean, several times this season as well. I'm sure of it.
It's finding that right thing about what's I've seen a couple of FPL General. I was listening to his podcast, and one thing he mentioned was. And I saw someone else talked about it midway through last season, and at the time I was like, well, that's just ridiculous. Why would you do that? They don't look at their overall rank until right at the end of the season. And I actually stopped doing that as well when, after lockdown, and I was not having a good season last season. and I just stopped looking at my overall rank, and it was actually a really good thing, because I mean, effectively, overall rank does not matter till game week 38.
Yeah.
So it was actually made me feel a lot better about the whole thing, because you're not worried about it. You're not making moves based on the fact that you're 3 millionth in the world or you're 300th in the world. You're just making the moves that's best for your team. And I know that's quite hard, because it's on the first page, and sometimes you're inevitably going to see it. But I'm definitely going to try and avoid seeing it for the first 5 or 6 weeks, because overall rank's the big thing for me. I'm not really worried about mini leagues or anything else. So I'm just going to try and avoid that, and then see how we go, and not keep refreshing live FPL updates, just to see if I've gone up or down based on it, and just see how that can impact on it, and just step away a little bit. I do remember, and I know a lot of people are talking about this at the minute, this idea of at the start of the week you write down what your initial thoughts were. And last season it was a prime example of my initial move was I had Maguire in, I was going to sell Maguire to Aurier, bring in Martial. I had 2 free transfers, I think, and then I was going to bring in Martial and Greenwood, and I could do it all for a -4, obviously, and then had the triple up in attack. And I had exact money, so I just figured, and I think maybe there was an international break, or there was a long break anyway, or I had minus 0.1 in the bank, so I thought, right, I'll wait and see. If I've got the money at the end of the week, I'll do it, and if I don't, I won't. And anyway, throughout the week, you read lots of things and go backwards and forwards, and I didn't end up doing it, even though there was a price change, but I still had the money in the bank to do it right at the end of the week, and I didn't do it. I went for the safer move, which was, I think I kept Maguire and didn't get Martial and just got Greenwood. And that must have cost me 50-60 points at least between then and the end of the season, just for the sake. And it was my initial gut reaction right at the start of the week, so I think there's something in that as well.
I think that's to my point as well. I mean, what move do you want to do? You want to play aggressively, like you're -4 for the 3 move, and a triple United attack would have been an aggressive move, and in hindsight the correct move. But then you went passive and started to take the patience approach, and I mean, sometimes that can work out for you. But I have highlighted here again the FOMO.
Totally.
Like you said about overall rank, and as well as I think ownership as well. I hope not to get ownership too much. So
maybe that's what we need to do, Rich. At the start of each week, we'll have to. At the end of end of each week, we'll have to say, right, what's our initial feeling of going forward, and we'll have to hold each other to it. Hey, mate, I'm going to have to make a move.
That's all right. We'll call it a night, or you will call it the morning.
I will call it a morning.
Thanks everyone for tuning in, and for engaging in the chat, Pete and Panda at least. So until next time. Right, bye.